Welcome back, everyone. Sheepdog Smokey here, and the UK is apparently now going to tell their voters their votes don't matter. Uh, if I was better at Photoshop, I would have Drew Carey. Welcome to the UK, where everything is our choice, and the vote doesn't matter. But I'm not. But Brussels, according to CNN, British Prime Minister Theresa May has asked the European Union for another delay to the bedeviled Brexit process, and it hasn't gone down well. May said she wanted to extend the Brexit deadline to June 30th, a date rejected by the EU when the UK last sought a delay, to give more time to break the political impasse in London. But EU ambassadors meeting in Brussels ahead of an emergency summit of EU leaders next week questioned the reasoning behind the short extension. There are also fears that, if granted, it could cast a cloud of uncertainty over elections to the European Parliament in May. One diplomatic source said two possible responses to the letter were discussed at the meeting, which was the ambassador's first opportunity to discuss May's request. France, which has taken a firmer line over Britain's demands, floated the idea of offering only a 2-week extension in order to prepare financial markets for Britain leaving the EU without a negotiated deal. The other option, floated by Germany, was to demand more information from May in order to justify offering a longer extension. There was no support, it would appear, for the UK's suggested June 30th date. The diplomatic source doubted whether, ultimately, any of the member states would opt to send the UK over the cliff at the next week's summit. The reason why it's so difficult to predict what will happen is that only the leaders are in the room. You have the pressure of history. Who will be the first to say, I cannot accept an extension, I prefer no deal? It's a big call. Donald Tusk, the EU Council President, is understood to have suggested a year-long extension, which could be shortened if and when the UK ratifies a withdrawal deal. That proposal, dubbed a flextection, could be offered only if the UK presented a clear path out of deadlock, diplomats said. A separate source told CNN that no final decisions had been made, and further discussions will take place before European leaders meet in Brussels Wednesday, 2 days before the current Brexit deadline of April 12th. EU officials are keen to await the outcome of talks between May and the UK opposition leader, Jeremy Corbyn, diplomats said. Now, I'm not going to read this entire letter because it's going to be filled with a bunch of legalese and other things. It will be here. Publicly, senior EU officials expressed frustrations at May's approach. France, which has always opposed a long extension without a clear roadmap from the UK, repeated the warning Friday. In absence of such a plan, we have to acknowledge that the UK chose to leave the EU in a disorderly manner. France's New Europe Minister Amélie, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, de Montchalin, I can pronounce that one, said. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte also expressed concern over May's letter, saying that it raised many new questions. We hope there will be more clarity from London before Wednesday, Rutte said, adding that he expects intensive discussions in the coming days. If we can help to avoid a hard Brexit, this would be our preference. However, that's up to London, not Paris or the Netherlands, Rutte told reporters. I think that's the first time an EU leader has acknowledged that even among the EU members, each state is responsible for their own decisions and the EU should not tell them what to do. In her letter, May acknowledged that the UK government accepts the European Council's view that it would be under a legal obligation to hold elections to the European Parliament if it wants an extension beyond May 22nd. The elections would be cancelled if a deal is reached before then, May said in her letter. That set off alarm bells in Brussels, which fears that the elections process could be disrupted by the political deadlock in Britain. A late cancellation to the elections would pose significant logistical problems, not least because seats in the European Parliament are being redistributed to take account of Britain's absence. The EU is also concerned that, if Britain remained in the EU, it could frustrate decision-making on important issues such as the bloc's budget. The UK would be a constructive and responsible member state, May wrote. But hardline Brexiteer Jacob Rees-Mogg, the leader of the European Research Group, a bloc of Conservative MPs who have been staunchly opposed to May's Brexit deal, said on Twitter that the UK should be as difficult as possible in a long extension scenario. If a long extension leaves us stuck in the EU, we should be as difficult as possible. We could veto any increase in the budget, obstruct the putative EU army and block France's president, Mr. Macron's integrationist schemes. Meanwhile, in London, efforts to forge a compromise deal with the opposition Labour Party did not appear to be going well on Friday. Labour said the government had not offered to make any written changes to the political declaration associated with her Brexit deal. We are disappointed that the government has not offered real change or compromise, the party said in a statement. We urge the Prime Minister to come forward with genuine changes to her deal in an effort to find an alternative that can win support in Parliament and bring the country together. Downing Street said that it made serious proposals in the talks and that it was prepared to pursue changes to the political declaration in order to get a deal. We are ready to hold further detailed discussions this weekend in order to seek any such changes in the run-up to European Council on Monday, the statement said. There has been speculation that May would offer to renegotiate the political declaration to state the UK intended to remain in a customs union with the EU after Brexit. That caused howls of outrage in her Conservative Party and its allies in the House of Commons, the Democratic Unionist Party of Northern Ireland. The Prime Minister should not waste any extension by subcontracting the UK's future to Jeremy Corbyn, DUP leader Arlene Foster said on Friday. This time should be used to get a better deal, which works for every part of the UK, so the entire nation can leave the European Union together, she added. Former Secretary Jeremy Hunt, who has been a hardline Brexiteer voice in May's cabinet, expressed opposition to the UK remaining in the customs union. We've always been very clear that the Brexit future we want is outside the customs union, Hunt told reporters Friday. It's in our manifesto, so we don't want to be in the customs union. That's why we are having this discussion. We want to see what common ground there is. Unfortunately for all of those wanting to leave the EU, there is very little common ground. The EU does not want you to leave because, very simply, they want your money. The political tools in Parliament don't want to leave because they like exerting power. And the EU gives them more power over people who do not elect them. And the rest of the world sees it as just another political circus. And honestly, I don't understand much of what's going on because I am not a Briton. What I do understand is that a vote was held. A majority of the voters voted to leave the European Union. Within days, there were outcries that people refused to vote in protest, or because we thought it would go the other way, so you don't need my vote. To me, this is the same as, well, I didn't vote because I just knew Hillary would win. So the people who don't vote are now saying, we want to vote now. And that's not the way a voting process works. You're told when and where the vote will be held. You are told what will be voted on. If you do not vote, you do not get to demand that new elections be held, and everyone who did vote according to the rules, well, they just have to accept that you are special. Unfortunately, I don't see this getting any better. I see it getting worse. The EU is going to obstruct any extension that they can, and in some ways they're right to do so. The EU ambassadors are going to have to change how they do things because Britain will be gone. And that's going to need a redistribution of their power or numbers or whatever have you. And Britain saying, well, we can hold elections and then cancel ours if need be. It's not the way it works, Miss May. Your people voted to leave. I don't know what deal you're discussing, but the only deal should be we voted to leave. We're going to leave. And we're going to leave as soon as the new ambassadors take their place, so that your elections will be based on the new year coming where we will be gone. When that year begins, we are gone. We're going to stop sending our money to you. You're going to stop sending us your refugees. Our jobs are our jobs. Your jobs are your jobs. If you wish to buy from us, you can buy from us. If you wish to sell to us, you can try to convince people to buy from you. It's the audacity and arrogance of politicians that is keeping this from happening. And it should be something the people of the UK see and react to by saying the people in power are not working for us. Unfortunately, the UK is a constitutional monarchy. They are a bicameral House of Parliament. The House of Commons, of course, elected. The House of Lords are a hereditary oligarchy. Why would hereditary oligarchs care what the commoners even think? And of course, they carry more power than the House of Commons. Why would commoners be equal to their betters? I honestly don't see this getting much better. If the rules are abided by, Prince Charles will never become king because he married a divorcee. If you'll remember, Elizabeth's uncle abdicated the throne to marry Wallis Simpson, and her father was then crowned. Elizabeth has never divorced, and Philip is not a divorcee, so she is on the throne. William and Kate, neither one are divorcees. They have been married only to each other. William is the oldest in line, so William will become king of a broken nation. And unfortunately, it will only continue to break further and further until there is no nation. But that's enough from me. I may one day revisit and actually look at the history of the throne, and who knows, I may actually try and pull a history lecture out of it. But for then, we'll see. For now, you know the schedule: 4 a.m. and 4 p.m., 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Although weekends may be a bit different due to other commitments that have to happen outside of my normal work. I've also got the rabbit holes I'm researching, looking at going down possibly one day. So you'll want to be subscribed and with notifications on so that you can be the first to know. Until then, everyone have a wonderful day.